They mocked her every single day, laughed at the old rusted box she carried everywhere. To them, it was just junk. But when the colonel ordered her to open it, the truth silenced the entire base and left every recruit in shock. The first morning at the desert base was loud. Boots struck the ground, bags thudded on the gravel, and nervous laughter echoed between the barracks. Young recruits poured out of the transport truck, each one trying to look tougher than the rest. Among them walked a woman named Evelyn Ward. She wasn't the youngest, nor the loudest. She didn't carry herself with bravado like some of the others. Her uniform was neat, her posture steady, her eyes sharp, but quiet. She looked like someone used to silence. What caught everyone's attention wasn't her face or her stride. It was the thing she carried. A metal case. Old, rusted, dented on the corners. The paint was faded, scratched by years of wear. It looked like scrap pulled from a junkyard. Yet, she carried it as if it was part of her uniform, her hand never leaving. The worn handle. Whispers began before she even reached the barracks. "What's in the antique box?" Someone chuckled. "Maybe her grandma's cookies." Another muttered, "Looks like trash." A third said, smirking. Evelyn heard them all. She didn't react. Her face was calm, her steps steady. She slid the case neatly under her bunk, locked the latch, and began folding her blanket with precise care. That silence became an invitation. By evening, the teasing grew sharper. A tall recruit named Carter leaned against his bunk and pointed. "Hey, Ward, what's in the treasure chest?" "Snacks, love letters, or maybe knitting supplies." Laughter filled the room. Evelyn ignored them. She didn't even look up. She simply tucked the case further beneath her bed. But silence only fed the fire. Everywhere she went, the case followed. During drills, she placed it by the edge of the field before running into formation. During meals, it rested at her side. During weapons cleaning, it sat at her feet like a loyal dog. The recruits laughed harder. They whispered theories late at night. Some said it was money. Others swore it was contraband. Carter mocked her openly, dragging an imaginary box during runs, drawing roars of laughter. Evelyn never flinched. To them, silence was weakness. To her, silence was discipline. What they didn't know was that inside the battered case lay her entire story. Laminated papers, certificates, records, proof of years spent on frozen fields, deserts, and ranges. Proof of patience, learned the hard way. Proof that she had already walked the path they were only beginning. At night, when the barracks went quiet, Evelyn would glance at the shadow under her bed. The case looked ordinary, worthless. But to her, it was history. She knew the day would come when it could not remain closed. One command, one order, and the latch would lift. And when that day came, silence would end. Days turned into weeks, and the recruits found new energy in making Evelyn the subject of their jokes. Her quiet nature made her stand out even more. In the mess hall, Carter would tap his tray with a spoon and announce, "Make space for the magic box. It needs its own chair." Laughter rolled down the table. Evelyn ate her meal without lifting her eyes. She chewed slowly, swallowed, and placed her fork neatly on her tray. Her silence unsettled some of them. They were used to reactions: anger, embarrassment, at least a glare. But Evelyn gave them nothing. At night, when the lights dimmed, whispers filled the barracks. "Bet it's stuffed with candy bars." "No, it's cash. She's hiding money." "Maybe it's just empty, and she carries it for attention." The laughter never reached her. She lay awake, staring at the shadows, her thoughts elsewhere, on names and faces of people she once fought beside, on moments she could never share. The case under her bed was more than metal. It was memory. Sergeant McConnell, a man with 20 years in uniform, noticed. He had seen recruits come and go, but Evelyn was different. Her eyes were sharp, her movements deliberate, her silence heavy. He didn't press her. Experience told him some soldiers carried scars in silence. The recruits didn't have that wisdom. To them, the case was a game, a riddle they thought they could solve with jokes. Evelyn endured it all, calm and unshaken. But inside, she knew what they did not. Patience was sharper than any weapon. The day would come when their laughter would break against truth. The sun beat down hard on the training field. Sweat dripped from faces, rifles gleamed in the heat, and Sergeant McConnell barked commands like thunder. Evelyn stood in line, her case at her side, dented and rusted, but ever present. The recruits smirked at it, though less loudly now. Their curiosity was starting to outweigh their mockery. The silence of that box gnawed at them. Then the colonel arrived. His presence was enough to freeze the field. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Boots snapped to attention. He was a man who carried authority without effort, his face carved with lines of long service. His gaze swept across the recruits. It stopped on Evelyn. His eyes dropped to the rusted case. "What's in the box, Private Ward?" His voice was calm, but sharp. The recruits held their breath. This was the moment they had joked about for weeks. Carter grinned, waiting for her embarrassment. Some expected candy wrappers, others expected punishment. Evelyn didn't flinch. She kept her posture perfect, her rifle at her side. She considered giving an excuse, but the colonel raised a hand. "Don't explain," he said firmly. "Open it." A hush fell over the field. Evelyn knelt slowly. Her fingers brushed the worn metal. The latch creaked as she lifted it. For a moment, she looked up at the colonel, as if asking if he truly wanted to see. He gave a small nod. She flipped the lid. The recruits leaned forward, eyes wide. Inside lay a stack of laminated certificates, edges sealed, names and scores bold under the sun. Evelyn lifted one and handed it to the colonel. His jaw tightened as he read aloud. "United States Army Sniper School, Fort Benning, certified with distinction." Gasps spread across the line. Carter's grin vanished. The colonel pulled out another. "Advanced marksmanship, reconnaissance proficiency, overseas deployment qualifications." Each document struck the recruits like a blow. Silence wrapped around the field. The colonel's voice carried over the formation. "Does anyone else here hold credentials like these?" No one spoke. No one even moved. Evelyn stood straight, her expression calm. Relief stirred faintly inside her, not pride, but relief. The box no longer needed silence to guard its truth. The colonel returned the certificates carefully, almost reverently, and closed the lid. He placed it back at her feet. "Remember this moment," he said to the recruits. "Not all strength is loud. Not all skill is shown in words. You mocked what you did not understand. Learn from this." He walked away, his boots crunching against the gravel. Sergeant McConnell folded his arms, a faint smile hidden under his stern face. The recruits were frozen. Their smirks were gone, their laughter dead. The rusted case at Evelyn's feet no longer looked like trash. It looked like proof. Proof that they had mocked someone who had already done what they could not imagine. That night, the barracks were quiet. Carter lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, guilt pressing heavy. Across the room, Evelyn polished her boots in silence, the case beside her. Finally, a recruit whispered into the dark, "Ward, why didn't you say anything?" She looked up, her expression unreadable. "Didn't need to," she said softly. Her words carried more weight than any speech. The silence that once mocked her now guarded her. From that day, no one touched the case. No one joked. Respect had replaced ridicule. But for Evelyn, little changed. She hadn't carried it for applause. She hadn't stayed silent for drama. She had done what she always did, endured, and in the quiet, she knew one truth. Strength never needed to shout. The next morning, the atmosphere at the base felt different. It wasn't something you could measure, like the cadence of drills, or the number of push-ups. It was in the air, in the way the recruits glanced at Evelyn, in the way whispers no longer carried laughter. Her case still rested by her side, but it no longer carried ridicule. Now it carried weight. Formation was sharper than usual. No one dared make jokes. Boots hit the gravel in perfect rhythm. Sergeant McConnell barked orders, but even he noticed the change. Respect, once absent, had appeared silently, without anyone admitting it aloud. At the firing range, the recruits lined up, rifles ready. Evelyn moved as always, calm and precise. When she fired, the bullet struck center. Shot after shot, her rhythm never wavered. For the first time, someone asked her, "Ward, can you check my stance?" She glanced at the young recruit. For a moment, she thought of refusing, but then she nodded. "You're leaning too far forward. Shift back, let the weight rest on your shoulders, not your wrists." The recruit adjusted. His shot landed closer to the target. His eyes widened. "Better," Evelyn said simply. Others began asking, not loudly, not in groups, but one by one. She corrected them quietly. With small adjustments, a hand shifted, a breath slowed, a trigger squeezed more gently. Her advice was never long, never boastful, but it worked. Their aim improved. Their breathing steadied. Carter lingered at the back. His pride was fractured. He remembered every cruel word he had thrown at her. Watching her now, calm and steady, he realized how wrong he had been. His arrogance burned inside him. During a break, he finally stepped forward. His voice was low. "Ward, can you check my aim?" The request cost him more than he wanted to admit. Evelyn studied him for a long moment.